Okay, hello, good afternoon. This is the panel of Digital, Our Reality. We will discuss the Industry 4.0, also the speed and scope of change in the times of COVID-19. We will also discuss how the free access to information is actually impacting how artificial intelligence is actually improving or changing business nowadays. We also discuss how the world interconnects and the impact that this has on society, on families, and also on businesses. We all, in a nutshell, will discuss how this paradigm is changing businesses. The session will be conducted in English, as you can, of course, notice, and we will have a Q&A in the end of the interventions of all our panel speakers. I will start by the introductions. The panel sessions will have around between 5 and 7 minutes, and we will then ask and answer the questions. I'm Luís Madureira. I'm the managing partner of Uber Brands. I'm also the chair of SKIP Portugal, so the Strategic and Competitive Intelligence Professionals, and I'm a CI fellow. I will now briefly introduce my guests. So first and foremost, welcome Eduardo. Eduardo Sete Câmara is the head of acceleration of BetaI. So BetaI is a main collaborative innovation consultant in Europe. He has 13 years of experience in venture capital and entrepreneurship. Through the different perspectives. So he's been an investor, institutional and angel, and also an entrepreneur and accelerator and mentor. He has worked with startups from all over the world and designed and implemented and led entrepreneurship-focused programs in 3 continents. He has a bachelor's in economics and an MBA focused on corporate finance. So welcome, Eduardo. Marco, welcome. Marco Cerruti is account manager at Microsoft. He is helping Microsoft partners in their daily support needs and business enablement. And he has a wide experience, of course, in Microsoft technologies. He's experienced as an IT manager for multinational companies and also implemented several critical systems with high security requirements. Pandemic made him put in practice his experience, which he acquired during the years on remote work, governance, and security. So welcome again. Ricardo Macieira, Portugal country manager at Revolut. He's previously 5 years driving Airbnb business in Portugal, up to 2.3 billion euros of impact in the Portuguese economy. So well done. He has a degree in design, worked for a few years as an art director, and then co-founded the company Alok Design Brands. He also provides mentorship to entrepreneurs and currently being incubated in Startup Lisboa. Our next guest is Rosália. Rosália Rodrigues is Executive Director Africa at Ideias Dinâmicas. So basically it's a IT consulting group of companies building digital customized platforms and boosting clients' overall investment in IT solutions. He is working in the African markets for the last 8 years on business development, also on digital transformation, projects mainly in the Portuguese-speaking countries. He's executive director and business analyst for designing and implementing digital processes and transformation. Last but not least, Rui Santos Couto is the VP of growth at InfoSpeak, which is a global company that provides a unique intelligence maintenance management platform. He's also a co-founder of Founders, an international community of entrepreneurs. He's a specialist in strategy, marketing, and growth of tech B2B software as a system startups. So welcome all. I would now give the floor to Eduardo to start his session. So Eduardo, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks a lot, Luís, and thank you very much for the invitation to the opportunity to be here and talk to you guys a little bit about this. Let me start sharing my screen. Just a second. Okay. So before I get into the topic, I'm just going to talk very, very briefly about BetaI or BetaI, depends on how you want to say it. So BetaI is a collaborative innovation consultancy. We mainly focus on open innovation, pilot-oriented projects which means we work with corporates that have specific challenges, and we look for startups all over the world that can co-create a service or a product together to solve an internal or external problem that the corporate has. At the same time, we also do a lot of acceleration programs, which is a part that I'm responsible for. So right now, for example, we're doing a fintech incubation program with the Central Bank of Angola and a regulatory sandbox as well. We're doing a tourism program in Portugal and a bunch of other programs. And it is mostly focused on helping startups grow through a product-led growth strategy. Okay. We work in a few different areas, as you guys can see. Mainly energy and fintech, I would say, is the strongest ones that we have. And we've been working with a lot of partners and corporate clients throughout the years. We've been around for about 10 years. Okay. Now, getting to the point of the talk right now. When I was invited to speak here about the fourth industrial revolution or Industry 4.0, this brought about something I like to discuss a lot, which is what I find to be a little bit of a misunderstanding, right? The biggest problem is the actual use of the word industry that has more than one meaning, right? So if you go to the Oxford Languages Dictionary, you can find industry in the sense of manufacturing, or you can use industry in the sense of economic activity. For example, the financial industry, the hotel industry, right? So it's very important that we make a distinction between those two meanings, right? If we're talking about Industry 4.0, we're pretty much talking about a paradigm shift in productivity in terms of manufacturing. And this has definitely been happening for a while now, with mainly with IoT, allowing manufacturers to be much more productive. In terms of industrial revolution, I refer to a person named, a man named Jeremy Rifkin. I don't know if you guys know him. He's quite famous, actually. He's the one that actually coined the idea that we're in the third industrial revolution. And that industrial revolution is, as the two before, they represent a paradigm shift in three things. The first one is communication. So if you think about the printing press, then radio and telephone, and now the internet would be the third revolution. Transportation, we have the steam engine, the internal combustion engine, and now we're going into self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. And then we have energy production, right? We went from steam to oil, and now we're going into renewable energies. This is the main differences that we have. So I would argue that we're still in the beginning of the third industrial revolution. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about this, okay? But the talk that we're doing is focused on connectivity and artificial intelligence, right? So think about it, connectivity is about the ability to exchange information in volume, scale, speed, and frequency. And artificial intelligence is about the ability to learn from processing information in volume, scale, speed, and frequency as well, correct? So we're talking about connectivity, we're talking about sensors and gadgets to collect data and a highway that connects and allows data to flow. And in terms of artificial intelligence, we're talking about storage or access to the data, processing power, and actual intelligence to learn from it. If we look into artificial intelligence, if we look into connectivity, we're talking about smartphones, smart devices, IoT, and 5G. And in artificial intelligence, we're talking about cloud and processing power, right? If you look at the data today in the world, you're going to see that about 86% of the companies are already using some kind of cloud services. Some would say even 94%. This is where the data gets a little bit harder to pan out, because you have public cloud, private cloud, you have in-house hosting services, or you can contract that to a third party, not hosting, but storing services. But if we look at processing power, we have made a lot of strides, but we're still a little bit behind the rat brain in terms of computational speed and memory. And in terms of artificial intelligence, you could say that some companies like Google, IBM, and I guess Microsoft as well, they are at deep learning. They do some AI, but this is not widespread throughout the industry and the economy in the world yet, right? And when you look at connectivity, I looked at some data as well, and I found some very, very interesting stuff. So even though we actually do have more than half of the population in the world with access to the internet, about 4.4 billion people, we only have a 44.9% worldwide penetration of smartphones. The country with the biggest penetration for smart devices is the UK with 34%. IoT is being used about only 25% of the companies in the world today. And 5G will reach 21% market penetration in 2025, right? So why am I saying this? I think the whole idea is that, so most of us, probably everyone here, has a smartphone. And we use social media, and we're concerned about behavior being tracked and the artificial intelligence behind to understand what we're doing, to gather behavior. And we think this is something that is true for everybody else in the world. But it's not. We're still getting there. This is still the beginning. And we're still at the very early beginning, which means that there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow. There's a lot of opportunities for things to be developed. And when you think that the world is going to chaos because of this, if you're scared, I know like my wife is scared. I'm not so much. Remember, we're only just starting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. Really great introduction to the topic. I would now pass the floor to Marco Cerruti, which can go now.
Thank you very much, Luis, and thank you for this invitation. I would like to also extend my my thank you to all the other members of this panel. So I don't think I need to introduce Microsoft. I mean, everybody loves to hate us, which is which is good. It's always a good name anyway. I would like to, and I'm bringing to the table a bit of something that we were actually talking before we came online, and that is the connection that all of this digital revolution is on one side allowing for people to have, and on the other side making some people maybe like Eduardo's wife, maybe a bit afraid of technology. We at Microsoft have gone through a huge transformation that many people don't know. A transformation that happened exactly when, or it didn't happen, it was already happening, but it really took a very fast shift when the pandemic really hit. And that has to do with the fact that we had to respond to all of the requests that we had from all of our customers and future customers when we had the need to give people what they needed in terms of communication, in terms of making their life better in a confinement environment. That growth, that forced growth, really had us in some scramble at certain times. Talking about our products, for example, the main product that helped people to communicate, it's Teams, of course. And during the first months of the pandemic, it was really hard for us to upgrade our data centers and have everything in place for the month that would come, for the volume of business that would come in because of the pandemic. All of the growth that we have had in terms of digital transformation with our partners, with our customers, and within ourselves also, in fact, helped during the pandemic and but at the same time brought this growth challenge. It all, in a certain way, it all comes down to what technology is to each one of us, and what, in our case, specifically in Microsoft's case, what can we do as a company in order to serve better our customers and our partners, and how we listen to them in order to make our products go towards their needs, to fulfill the need of something that right now it's really, really important, and that is the need of getting connected and being together apart. And I remember I have an example of one specific company that I helped to implement a communication software like Exchange Online, like Office 365, right now called Microsoft 365, Teams, SharePoint, all of these technologies. I started helping them around probably in 2019, September, August 2019. And I remember that one of the first things that we implemented was start working as a company by being respectful of the time and of the space of each person. I'm not talking about technology. I'm talking about how people work. There was a lot of problems in terms of communication. People would interrupt constantly each other, and productivity was basically coming really down and was not working very well. So I started introducing them to SharePoint. I started introducing them to Teams, etc. And there was a very interesting thing that someone told me. This was a quite small company, or at least there was small departments. And when we started talking with the end user about this, they said, so if I want to schedule a meeting, I cannot get up and go to the other person and ask for a meeting. I have to do it by Teams and by Outlook. And I was, yes, that's a good way to put it. And they said, well, we're going to stop talking to each other. And my response to that was yes, maybe you will talk less, but you will communicate more. And that was something that resonated inside the company. So we implemented everything, and it was actually very good. People started being more productive. There was more communication, etc. And then the pandemic came, COVID-19 came, and everything that we worked for almost half a year or maybe more, it came to, let's say, it was like pieces of a puzzle falling and making the puzzle. It was great to see people going home and working with cloud technologies in a way that they were actually already used to work with. Started using tools with, for example, artificial intelligence, like Power BI, or the admins, for example, using Microsoft tools that would allow them to implement security to help people actually be insecure. Because this is also one of the things that actually is a challenge right now. And the security attacks that we can see every day, ransomware problems, etc. And that was the main challenge for many IT admins. But the fact that the people would actually be connected and started working in a very different way, using Teams, using other technologies. For example, Zoom is another one. Of course, I tend to think about technology as something that serves the end user. Of course, Microsoft has very good technology, but there are others, of course. So the fact of looking at these companies already on a path for digital transformation, and then in the moment that there was an actual need for it, seeing the things working was really, really good. The connection between people is probably the most important part that we have in our company, and technology needs to fulfill the gaps in what means managing, for example, teams, for example, the company itself, and serve the purpose, of course, of reporting, of course, of keeping people and management connected. And that, in my opinion, is something that really makes the world of the company, of our company, go around. Of course, it's very important to have a good analysis of what our company is in order to implement the best kind of technologies. Of course, I need to put this into a Microsoft perspective, but putting that a little bit aside, technology itself serves no purpose without the purpose of our company.
Thank you very much, Marco. Really interesting topic. I will now pass the floor to Ricardo Macieira.
Hey everyone, let me just share my screen. I'm gonna try to go fast. Okay, it seems it's not this way. Share screen, hopefully it works. So I'm gonna have to, okay, I can do it now, perfect. Okay, so just like, the idea with this presentation is just to share our experience as Revolut and how did we adapt to this new reality. So for those who don't know Revolut, we are a financial alternative, digital alternative to traditional finance institutions. So like mentioned, I'm the country manager. We are a pretty recent company. We were born in 2015. We have around 30 million retail users and 500,000 businesses. We had some interesting rounds of funding, so we are a scale-up at this moment. And what drives us and what makes Revolut ticks is this ultimate goal. So as you probably know, the fintech ecosystem is pretty complex. You have a lot of areas that some connect, some not really. But what we aim as Revolut is be the financial super app that it's in the center of this ecosystem. We want to be the financial super app for everything that's financial and allow our customers to be able to have access to complex financial products, which without Revolut, it would be harder for them to get access to. So this is basically the concept, a global platform for all the financial needs of the modern consumer. And the way this materializes is in multiple ways. So first, we have our payment tools, our cards. We have the MetaCards who are super cool. We give total access and total control of the cards to our users. You can activate, deactivate, change PIN, etc., in a very, very seamless way, which initial banking usually doesn't provide. We have all the data analysis that will allow our users to do the best decisions when managing their money in terms of how they analyze their finances. And then we also give them tools to make money with their money. You have the ability with Revolut to buy stocks, cryptocurrencies, commodities. So the idea is to keep pushing products and offering more options for financial management to our users. And this is all tied in with our vision, which is reinvent how the world does money. Our mission is making things 10x easier to our users, and our purpose is empowering users to their financial freedom. But reality hits sometimes, and 2020 was not that different. Everyone was impacted, and we are not different. So if we see the always aim for hockey stick, we were at a very nice path. This is users in Portugal, and then COVID hit, and we saw it to start decline. This was basically because people were not leaving their house, so the product at a certain moment maybe that didn't make that much sense to the users. So what we decided to do is, okay, let's reassess our core values, and this is the core values of our company. We want a dream team, top players all the time, all around in our teams. Never settle. We always push stronger. Think deeper in the stuff that we do, and then get it done. And while getting it done, deliver wow to our customers. So we kind of huddle together. So okay, what will we do? And we started by, first of all, focus on social responsibility. COVID had a massive impact in communities. So we decided to use our tools in order to give back to the ones that need. So Portugal, we started by partnering up with Cruz Vermelha. We raised over 30,000 euros in donations in 1 weekend for Cruz Vermelha. It's a Portuguese Red Cross, by the way. Right now, our users already gave over 50K to Red Cross. We did the same with ILGA Europe, very cool campaign in which if you donated, you get a Pride card that you could order and use to pay. So super cool campaign that we run globally. In Portugal, also worked with SS and Animal, so we are also looking multiple aspects of what is social solidarity, not only people, but also the other aspects around people's lives. And besides this, the cool thing is that we were already a digital company. So when the lockdown came about, and for us it was a very particular case because on the week that the first lockdown started was when we were officially launching our Matosinhos Support and Innovation Center. We had everything prepared. Nick, our CEO, was flying over. We had to cancel everything. So in reality, for us, it was a very bittersweet moment. But we made all the arrangements for our team to be as safe as possible, and because we already had in place processes for people to work from home, so once a week everyone could work from home. For us, it's pretty easy. Okay, just stay at home. Let's us arrange everything that you need to be more time at home and working, and it was a pretty smooth transition. And the reality is that didn't stop us, so we managed to keep pushing products during the confinement. We launched Revolut Junior, super cool product for kids between 7 and 17 that can have access to a card and an app that they can use and start managing their money and learning how to better manage their money. We launched rewards, basically discount and offers with top brands in the world that Revolut users can have access by using Revolut as a payment method. We launched dark mode, not that big of a deal, but it was a pretty cool launch. We launched new cryptocurrencies. We added Stellar to the portfolio. Launched subscription management. So basically people that have multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Spotify, etc., they can manage through Revolut and have a better control of how much money they are spending on a monthly basis. And then we launched open banking, group bills, gifting, settlements and transfers. It was our team kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And also we opened 2 new markets, US, not a small feat, and also Australia. So even during all this turmoil, we managed to keep pushing and growing as a company. And the reason why this happens is due to our culture. By the way, this is our Porto office and this is our Porto team. We plan to have around 400 people there in the next year. With COVID, let's see how things progress. But the office space is pretty cool. So when restrictions are lifted, feel free to ping me so that I can show you the office. And the way we tied our culture in is by having our core values aligned with also our vision, purpose, and mission. With this, keep pushing cool products. But the reality is that in Revolut, like we have a very particular way of looking at stuff. Usually when you look at startups, you imagine people in bean bags playing PlayStation in the office. We have those, but usually you won't find people working there. And I don't know if you've seen that documentary called The Last Dance, focusing on the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan's last year playing. It was super interesting, not for me, not that much on the sports side, but on the team management side. And we kind of see ourselves a lot in the way that they work, especially if you look at our core value Dream Team. And he had a very cool phrase, which is this: I pulled people when they wanted to be pulled, challenge people when they wanted to be challenged, but you earned that right. This is how we work in Revolut. So we are all very hands-on in what we do, and we expect people to bring their A game, and we try to give the best environment for them to put their best efforts on. So I'll leave you with this last image. So I know this, once again, from our office in Porto. You can see it, but please never settle. This is our motto, and this is how we keep pushing. And hopefully this, sharing a little bit the way that we work might help you guys to also probably bring some of this culture into your own business, especially in these complex times. Thanks.
Thank you, Ricardo. That was a very cool presentation with lots of cool case studies. Thank you very much. So, Rosalia, you're the next.
Thank you. I'm having some trouble understanding what you're saying. So if you have trouble understanding what I'm saying, please intervene. So I will share my screen also. Yeah. So, okay, I can see it now, right? Okay. So, it's just to say thank you to all for the invitation, and of course to say thank you to my previous colleagues on their presentations. Actually, I know we are not as known as Microsoft or Revolut, so I will speak a little bit about the group and the companies that I represent. So, Grupo Ideias Dinâmicas is the name of the holding company. It's a Portuguese company, and in this group of companies we have 23 companies, but the ones that focus the most on IT are ITGest and Ideias Dinâmicas Tech. So we operate in several countries. We focus a lot, as Luís mentioned on the opening, in African Portuguese-speaking countries. So the biggest chunk of our business comes from Portugal, obviously, Angola, Mozambique, and South Africa. Cape Verde, India, and Brazil are smaller markets for us. All our operation basically turns around three big business units: one on IT tech, the second on consulting services, and the third on training. Right now we have over 430 people working with us, half of that in Africa, and all of them in Africa playing some role in some sort of IT-related task or role. So some of our numbers and our certifications, we are also a Microsoft partner in Africa and Portugal. But to say that we, as an IT company, we are implementers of SAP, IBM, Oracle, and other big world brands. But we have also one of our biggest units that is our software development team. Probably more than half of our revenue last year came from this team, and this is a growing business for us. We've been investing a lot in this line of business, especially locally. So we do look at our operation as a global operation, but with local skills. Okay? This is something very important to us, that I will come back later in my presentation, given the fact that this is how we explain the success that we've been having in African countries, and also in Portugal. So in terms of services and solutions, I will highlight just a few. So we work on this concept of intelligent enterprise. So intelligent enterprise not only for the technologies that we apply, but also from the processes, internal processes that makes our life simpler, and that helps us as managers to put our human resources working where value is added and not on repetitive tasks, for example, and also to focus on taking value from data. So we already heard from my previous colleagues the importance of data, the importance of processing, the importance of accessibility, and for internet connection. So when we look at our clients, we look at how does this company look in the future, given their core business, but applying some of these technologies that represent, but also our own, the others that we that we developed specifically for specific needs, but also from system integrations. So we've been understanding that a lot of investment has been made in the last few years. Yes, there is a revolution going on, and these new technologies are soon to be applied on our day-to-day business, but there is still a lot of value coming from the investment already made from our clients. So we really focus also our expertise on system integration. So from our side, we believe that first we need to sort out the issues that our clients have in their technologies or the constellation of technologies that they already have, and then build for the future with strategic planning for digital transformation or for business development on digital business development, where we plan for the future. All of this needs skills, so we do operate with our business unit in training to support either our projects implementing as we go. We have training plans and also change management plans in order to, from one side, identify the needs for skills and then to build them as we go implementing the projects. Of course, there are others that we would also like to speak about. For example, the IT consulting and consulting for management functions. When we look at our clients, there's sometimes, yes, the skills are there, the tech is there, but then the data is not ready to be put in place, or the processes are not in place in order to adapt to the technology, or vice versa. So we have a consulting division that works on from that side on this digital transformation for the intelligent enterprise, as I mentioned before. So in terms of innovation and development, we have extensive team of developers, both either in Portugal, Angola, and Mozambique. They work together as a one team. The biggest growth that we've been seeing is actually in Angola, and actually this has to do a lot with the pandemic. Well, we do know that our businesses are going through some difficulties, but that's not our case. On our side, the fact that we have pandemic actually made the discussion around digital transformation and implementation of new technologies from concept to urgent. So we've been getting a lot of business on this specific line. Okay, so in this division that we have working in these countries, we do work on open source technologies, but not only. We do work with IBM, we do work with Microsoft technologies, but it really depends on the case that we are addressing. There isn't one solution fits all. From our side, we prefer to understand the business, to understand where the management wants to go, what kind of path they have, well, what kind of budget they also have in order to go through these plans, and then outline what is the best combination of solutions or technologies to be applied. Recently, we've been working with IBM and other our own technologies and platforms for banking. For example, we've been working with blockchain for know your customer with the National Central Bank of Angola, for example, or with other clients looking at collection and data cleansing to draw from the information and value and to accelerate time to market for these clients. Well, I could go through a lot of examples, but I would like to focus on my last slide, not just this one, but my last slide. From our training division, we've been training people in all the countries we operate. We have training centers certified from some of the brands like SAP, Oracle, IBM. We also provide for Microsoft training. And we also have professional training certified in each country where we operate. Last but not least, just to give you a highlight of what kind of clients we have both in Portugal and in Africa. This is, well, a sample of these clients. We are very strong in banking, also in utility companies, also in industry. So we've been growing in the last few years a lot. This year we'll keep growing, especially on data analytics, integration, automation, for example, some of the areas where we've been growing a lot. So this is my last slide. And to add to what everyone said before, we do believe that technology should be helpful to us and to our day-to-day life in our companies, in our businesses, not only in our personal life. But from the business side, we do not believe in technology on its own. And we don't believe in technology that brings stress to the company, because people, the skills are not there and the processes are not put in place. So we believe that technology, and especially this new capabilities for machine learning and artificial intelligence, can actually help us in developing our business, growing our productivity, especially. But that doesn't work if we do not have the right people with the right skills in the right places, and also the processes set in place. So when we look at digital transformation in productivity increasement, we look always in these three aspects: people, the skills, processes internally. Are they simple, efficient, auditable, compliant, etc.? And then, yes, the technology to make all this happen together with a strategy that makes sense to everyone and that brings value to the companies. So this is the first approach I wanted to give here. Of course, this is also a networking event, so feel free to contact and to ask anything if needed. But just to say that from our side, technology, yes, but without people and without processes, we will not take all of it, all the value that we can from it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosalia. So a very good insight that you just gave us, a learning lesson and a key takeaway, I'm sure. So I will now pass the floor to Rui Santos Couto.
Hello, everyone. Really interesting presentations. It's always challenging to be the last one. Thanks very much for the invitation and for having me and InfraSpeak here today. We have been talking a lot about intelligence during these presentations, and I'm very happy that we are pretty much aligned with everything, or pretty much everything you have just said. I will just give you our perspective at InfraSpeak. So as a intelligent maintenance management platform, so we can understand how this intelligence fits into this modern world and these modern facilities. And I will try to answer this question. So how does this maintenance intelligence impact facilities management? So managing all the facilities we all live in, especially when we work in the office and in the offices. And actually what COVID-19 brought to us, it's a much more challenging facilities management world. based on the demand for better facilities management, more safety, more control over the air quality and all that. So it's also very challenging and very interesting to live these during these days. Everything I will share with you, it's pretty much like powered by our customer base. So we have hundreds of customers in more than 15 countries. We help more than 40,000 maintenance teams operate every day. And actually we collect a lot of data based on these operations and talking to these customers. But coming back going back to 2015, so 5 years ago when we started InfraSpeak, actually what we brought to the market was like, I would say like one of the first major things to intelligence, which is connectivity. So Eduardo was talking about connectivity and this relationship between connectivity and intelligence, and that totally makes sense. So what we first brought to the market was this integration with NFC technology, which is now very popular because of our credit cards and payment cards using this contactless system. And we were like the first computerized maintenance management system in the world. And I will deconstruct this concept. But we were the first maintenance management system in the world using this NFC technology. And it was very interesting because one of our founders started developing this during college, which ended up being like a product and a very unique product. So basically, you can use these NFC tags and stick those NFC tags to all the pieces of equipment you want and actually connect those equipment to a much broader data system. So, but we all know that we live in much more like complex facilities. There's technology everywhere within these facilities, and the facilities users and also the facilities owners, so the customers for the service providers, they are much more like demanding, and it's very difficult to manage all that. And we created what we call like the Intelligent Maintenance Challenges framework, just for us to understand from our customers what's critical for them in terms of the team, the business, the operations, and the client. So we have been assessing thousands of different facilities management companies, facilities management teams, maintenance management teams over all of these past years. And what we could understand is that their top challenges are pretty much like related to data. So for 25% of all of these facilities managers and maintenance managers, data and KPIs are their top challenge. So challenge number one. For 17 of those facilities managers and maintenance managers, technology is their like top priority or top challenge to solve in the short midterm. And for 15%, it's basically like efficiency. So how to distribute these tasks evenly and make the maintenance team more agile and reliable. So how can actually this intelligence and maintenance intelligence can help these facilities managers? Long story short, so it's a long story about like managing facilities on paper, then on spreadsheets, and putting all the assets in a spreadsheet and trying to track all changes. Then in the early 2000s, we have these on-premises computerized maintenance management systems. We were like what we call like spreadsheets on asteroids. Then, as any other any other industry, people move to the cloud, and now we have everything in the cloud, which is very, very, very useful. But when we look to all of these things, we actually look at these systems, and what they are trying to do is to replicate like those paper things into software things. Or put these paper on screens. And actually, these systems of records, they are pretty much like these old style phones. And thanks Nokia for everything you gave us. But they are like system of records. So we put our personal contacts, we log our calls, we can know who called us, and that's it. We can't do much. Of course, we can also like play the snake game, which is pretty funny, but there's not much we can do, or not much we can do with this kind of systems. So we used to say that CMMS is over. So these old style computerized maintenance management systems, these spreadsheets on steroids, they actually are over. So, and that's why we created InfraSpeak. So, and pretty much aligned what you've all said before. We take all these assets data and team data and operational data, and we try to transform this by using intelligence and data processing into decision prediction, giving intelligent insights to our teams, streamline their operations, and have everything you need so we can actually automate a lot of tasks and actually have managers visualizing all data and what's happening and giving them all the suggestions and everything they need to make better decisions and faster decisions. And this is actually what we are. So we are an intelligent maintenance management platform which is more flexible, intelligent, and actually more connected to the world. First of all, because by being a platform, we have all our native apps. You can connect other software to the system, and you can bring all the IoT also to the platform. So by being a platform by design, you can connect pretty much everything out there. So you can use our native apps for preventive and corrective maintenance, but you can also connect like sensors. You can also connect like temperature sensors or telemetrics and all that, and other pieces of software like Power BI from Microsoft, property management systems. So you can bring everything to the platform, because the platform is where the facilities management and the maintenance management teams live, and the financial team and other teams within the organization live in other systems. Okay, and that's why we are actually a platform by design. And at the same time, our intelligent engine puts everything to work together. So everything you plug into the platform works with other things. So data, it's connected, intelligence is connected, so we can actually manage all this data and work for the manager. So there's no sense today for you to keep doing things like you do, so picking the same equipment parts and all that, and not having an intelligence system that tells your technicians, this is like the best part you should be using here. Or if you are adding a work order, please add it there, because 90% of the times that's what you're doing. And bring all these data and help the managers do their job much faster. And of course, working everywhere. So by being connected, you actually collect a lot of data. And without that data, there's no intelligence we can provide. So InfraSpeak works online. It works actually offline, because a lot of maintenance teams, they work in places there's no internet connection. They can work on mobile. They can work on desktop. So actually, we try to make it very easy for the teams to get connected. So we can be flexible because it's a platform, intelligent because we have this intelligent technology that's like reading what you're doing, analyzing your data, and bringing intelligence out of that, and everywhere because of the connectivity. And actually, this week, we are very happy to introduce this week like the most maintenance management, the most integrated maintenance management platform, by adding more than 40 new integrations to InfraSpeak. So we can now connect InfraSpeak to Gmail. You can connect now InfraSpeak to Slack or Microsoft Teams. You can connect InfraSpeak to Zoom. So and enhance all the platforms, so the maintenance management teams and the facilities management teams can actually connect to other systems. So how does maintenance intelligence impact facilities management? It's basically making this loop to spin. So you collect data, you actually, by collecting that data, because you are powered by connectivity, so the NFC, the integrations and all that, you can actually make decisions powered by the intelligence the platform brings to your operation and make things happen in a very efficient way, because you can automate things and make decisions much faster and put decisions in place much efficiently. And this is actually how InfraSpeak helps maintenance management teams and facilities management teams. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Rui, and thank you for all the presentations. I would like to start by asking a question that was put in the Q&A by Marisa Borsboom. So what is your biggest fear when it comes to digital, either as a company or as an individual? And I think this is a kind of some question that is in the mind of pretty much everyone. So who wants to start?
I can kick off.
No.
Honestly, fears, I don't have many. I think we have a lot of opportunities. And for us, the COVID was a very interesting experiment, because like you saw in the dashboard, so basically we saw some decrease in business, especially physical transactions. But then what we also saw is the uptake that we had in other non-physical transactions. So for example, crypto trading in our platform grew 5x during the pandemic. Trading via our platform grew 3x during the pandemic. So it's super interesting to see like how digital and how digitalizing some of the processes that didn't exist in the past now are opening up new opportunities. Obviously, there are some security concerns that we need to bear in mind. In our area, mainly financially, it's more on the educational side, because we are giving people tools, better tools and more powerful tools for them to manage their finance. So for us, one of the priorities is financial literacy. We're working a lot on educating our on how to do the best decisions. So yes, there are a few risks, but just as long as we all do our work, especially working in digital and we being digital experts, we need to also be aware of the responsibilities we have with our users and with our customers.
You talked about literacy, and that's my biggest fear. It has to do with, in your case, financial literacy, of course. In my case, basic security literacy. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of cases of ransomware coming in because of simple and very avoidable mistakes. In terms of implementation of on-prem technologies, usually on-prem technologies, but we've seen a lot of attacks also on cloud. And the main culprit, and I think that this question has to do with maybe looking for an answer, like things in the cloud could be very well compromised. In fact, what we have seen is a huge hole in terms of compromising or unsecured information on premises. On the cloud is much harder to do.
Okay. The other?
Yeah, I would pick up on that and just say, like, jokingly, I tell people that my biggest fear is, like, the reason I don't have smart devices in general is until I feel that someone can hack my smart refrigerator and make it kill me or something, I'm not that comfortable in having one. No, but honestly, like, my biggest fear is that even though the changes are going, if you look at the big picture rather slowly, right, the way that it actually permeates the whole world, it does have some very relevant impacts. So, for example, during the pandemic now, most of the digital companies, a lot of the digital companies saw a lot of growth. And we've gotten to a point where the 8 biggest internet companies in the US, they represent about 40% of the S&P 500 weighted average. which means that the S&P 500 is going up while the real economy is going down very badly. So there's a disconnect between things that used to represent the real economy are now not representing it anymore. And we might be too late to realize that they're disconnected.
That's a good point. Definitely a good point. Rui and Rosario?
Yeah, if I can add something, I think people fear like what will be like, or what would be like the future of work actually. So how people are going to work in the future, and people fear all of these fast-paced change because they think that they will be going to lose their jobs, or there will not be nothing for humans to do in the future. Actually, our children in schools today, they will probably have jobs that don't even exist today. They will be doing things that we need to invent, and so humans can actually adapt to a world where these repetitive things and things nobody wants to do actually are now being done by humans, and that actually doesn't make sense to have someone do that. So I totally agree that technology, it's a world of possibilities and a world of opportunities, as Ricardo said. Of course, people fear that, but in the beginning of the 20th century, when we started to have like cameras and take pictures of people, artists also feared a lot those cameras and started like creating abstract art and new stuff to reinvent themselves. So of course, some things will be obsolete, but it's also like an opportunity for us to explore new things and adapt. And actually, I think that's the best way to describe. So we have to adapt all the time.
If I can just add one more thing on that topic, because it's super interesting regarding the workforce change. While I worked in the Airbnb, internally we had a side joke. It's not that much of a joke, it's like more a comment. There was a period where there was a lot of talks with Uber and self-driving cars. And we were like, okay, hopefully they bring it so that every Uber driver can become an Airbnb host, because that's something that a robot cannot do. So there are stuff that AI won't replace, and that's probably going to be the jobs that are going to be much more evaluated in the future. So I don't think it's all negative. I think there's a lot. We said it can be very, very good.
Yeah, what I think it's interesting, and also someone talked about literacy. It's us we understanding how things work and what's behind technology, how actually technology operates. Because sometimes we just see like screens and buttons, and we don't actually understand what's happening. And when we don't know how technology operates, we probably fear that fear the unknown, and take really bad decisions. So when it comes to privacy and all that, it's very interesting, because some years ago someone wrote a book about like Facebook is going to die, and not because Facebook was actually dying, but the first generation of Facebook, which were like teenagers and college people, they don't want to be at Facebook anymore, because our parents and our grandparents, they are coming to Facebook, and they actually don't know how Facebook operates, so they put everything on Facebook. So they share all their lives on Facebook, much more than I do, or even younger people do. And actually, people have to understand how technology operates, so they can use technology with a sense of responsibility.
Very much so.
If I may add to that, I do believe all of you mentioned some of my views, but I think that the fear of the digital era relates a lot with privacy from one side, and for security for the other side. We all remember the Cambridge Analytica thing and how they used data in order to influence us to do well, to take options or to believe in certain things. And I think that a lot of digital has also a lot to do with content. So I do believe that the fear is okay to have, actually makes us alert. But this is something that is new to us, as you mentioned before, the previous revolution. Everyone was afraid of the new machines, the new ways of work. We have a very recent memory of how we went for press to radio to television to all sorts of online sources of information, and there isn't a recipe of full security of all of our data. I don't actually believe that will always be flaws, but as you mentioned, there are also opportunities. The thing of the future jobs is something that we focus a lot, and that we believe that society will need to provide for a lot of skills that actually do not exist in order to sort out these issues that we've been speaking just now. But I think that the fear is okay, but this is the transformation that brings the unknown. So this is something that we need to identify and to manage in our day-to-day businesses and our private life, of course.
Yeah, I would add to that. Sorry, Luis.
Go.
I have a very deep concern because I think there's an underlying problem with the literacy or lack of literacy, where we managed to adapt from radio to TV. They're like both analog, right? But when we made the jump to digital, I have a general feeling that people deal with technology as if they're dealing with a brick, right? One of the best examples is, let's say you're trying to close your browser, or you're trying to open a program. You click, nothing happens, and then you click a bunch of times, right? I tell people, this is like the equivalent of, let me tie my shoes, and I get down to start tying my shoes, and you're nudging me, come on, let's go, come on. Like, you're not making this easier. You're not making this go faster, right? So I think there's the underlying problem where we haven't been able to make that jump to digital.
Yeah, that's one of the main problems we have at Microsoft. It's called the adoption of technology. You would not believe how many customers have already Microsoft 365, Microsoft Lists, Microsoft Teams, the whole bunch, the whole package, everything, but they're not applying it to their business processes yet. That is a big issue that we have, and that is the main focus right now. And actually, Eduardo, I was going to say that my biggest fear is precisely the lack of adoption, but Ricardo said literacy, and I thought, yes, literacy. But in fact, the way people try to adopt technology in a very rushed manner, that wastes in a huge way resources, motivation for future projects, and that's really important, causes stress in the end users and stress in the management, and suddenly everybody's like, nah, forget about it. Let's just forget it. And that is actually, it's an innovator dilemma, is the fact that why should we innovate when we are actually making money with the technology we have now? We are actually producing with the technology that we have now, and a project to make it, more actual in a more digital, revolutionized way. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me resources, and I had bad experiences before. So yeah, that's in fact a big fear from a management perspective, from an purely IT manager perspective. I don't know if you share that. Probably Ricardo would not share that as much because Revolut, my God, what an example for so many companies. At least the perspective that we have is that everything is working so well and so smooth. You know? Congratulations, by the way.
Nothing works smoothly in startups. That's
I know. But I said the sensation that we have. So you have done a good job, a very good job.
Eduard can comment on that, right? Like if nothing goes on like well on a startup, right? Like everything.
I usually say there's only two types of entrepreneurs, right? You have the crazies, and you have the people who have no idea what they're doing, and they're only doing it. If they knew it, they wouldn't do it, and if they do, it's because they're crazy. Being an entrepreneur is like the most insane thing that you can do in your life. To some people, it's the only way to live. But to most people, actually, most of my job, I get invited a lot to talk at universities about entrepreneurship, and people usually don't. The people who invite me end up not liking me so much because the first thing I say is, look, honestly, like graduate and go get a job, like work somewhere for like 10 years, get some experience, get some life experience, then you think about starting something. Because it's insanely hard. If you think about how hard it is, I can tell you it's going to be 10 times harder if you try to do it.
Yeah, I can testify on that. So my own company is a startup. So you just define me as crazy. So thank you very much. Now, going on this crazy thing, I also wanted to share my biggest fear, and my biggest fear is actually inequality. So if you have access to data, if you have access to money, and if you know how to crunch that data and kind of transform that into intelligence, those companies, because you have to have access to this data, you have to have the financial means and also the technological means, can actually kind of grow the divide between these types of companies and the other companies. What do you think about this? And this is a question for all. So basically, kind of if you have access to data, technology, and the talent, like you will be growing much faster than pretty much everyone else, right? So, and this would create a gap.
I think the interesting, I just think the interesting part of this is companies like Ideias Dinâmicas, who are basically helping the incumbents adapt to these new realities. I think they will be key in this aspect, because building processes, when you already have a legacy process in place, it's very hard. Revolut grew because and is still growing in terms of being top of mind for digital, because we were designed 100% on digital, with digital in mind. If you look at the traditional bank, they have legacy processes that just moving that into digital. I wouldn't be the one having to do that. So there's going to be in my perspective, they will have to adapt. They will have to adapt in the best way that they can. And it's going to be probably very hard that they do it alone. So thankfully, there's digital companies that are doing processes to help them implement this new reality. And this is good, because with that, all the ecosystem rises up. We perceive our presence in the market a good thing. And if we see an incumbent bank coming up with a solution better than ours, I praise that, and I'm super happy for that, because it means that they decided they need to step up, and now who wins is the final customer. So at the end, it's a win-win situation for the end customer.
Absolutely. I tend to look at this there are two factors here, the B2B and B2C. It's totally legitimate to think about inequality and being so much of an innovator that suddenly our idea maybe fails because the world is not ready for it. And I've seen a lot of examples of that.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, and then they come back. I remember some time ago, a friend of mine had a company called Mix and Blend. They used to do online concerts, and we did not talk about pandemic. They in Campo Pequeno, for example, they did online concerts on Facebook, etc., and people could clap their hands, and everybody said, "Why?" I mean, and then suddenly COVID answered that question. So and it was too far ahead. On the other side, I've worked with a lot of small accounting companies, And I have to say that a lot of the customers of accounting companies, so in terms of B2C, are not ready to have their accounting company very much digital, let's say. I could, in a very simple way, give a total end-to-end solution to publish the results of your company on an internet secure website, so that you can get there and see your results and everything, you know, for a small company, etc. So your accounting company could give you that information online. A lot of them have it, but if you see, then we go back to the adoption. If you look at the adoption of the customers of these accounting companies, it's very low, because a lot of the customers actually do not have the literacy to get there. So see what I did there? Literacy, adoption, and being too forward. I'm proud of myself.
So what's being done? I know, like, for example, Rosalía mentioned training, kind of. I'm sure Microsoft has it as well, and pretty much everyone. So what is being done in literacy? What is being done in training? What is being done in the universities? What is your view on this? So how can we leverage this to actually kind of improve digital transformation and kind of move business forward?
Well, from our side, this is a cornerstone, literacy, like you said, or skills, or 90% or 80% of our support is busy explaining to the users of the systems things that are related to lack of literacy. The fact is that when something goes wrong in our implementations, the software is to blame, the infrastructure is to blame, or the internet connection is to blame. So there isn't another reply to any issue that comes out from there. But we understood that if we do not invest from the beginning of our projects in training, in understanding what is needed in order to be adopted, the technology adopted and well adjusted to the actual reality of the institution or the company, and how it will evolve in the future, we would lose the perception from our clients of value. We lose opportunity to grow the perception of the value of the technology where they are investing. So a very important part of how we work is to assess together with our clients when we decide or when the client, sometimes the client has a very clear idea of what do they want. So we work with them to understand if all these checks and balances are in place in terms of how this would fit with technology already in place, if the infrastructure is right, and of course the connections are good, fine. But are the skills there? Who are the people who are going to work with this and taking value from this implementation? Are they ready for this? What is the gap between what and how they work now to where they need to be? So we bring them into our projects to be part of one only implementation team split between us and our clients, and then build with them the skills from one side, and from the other side, which is something that Rui said, it's very wonderful to have these front ends very nice and user friendly, but let's bring them also to here and there to understand what is being done in the back end, so they actually own the solution, understand why it was built like that, and then to take value from operating the technology. So this is from one side. And then there's another side to this, which is support. How are we going to addict our clients from consultancy services from our side? Or are we going to help our clients to build their own teams? What is the model? Where is this sweet spot for this client? So, and especially, well, we have a lack of skills in Europe, not because of the specifics of the skills, but because of the number, okay? But in African countries, we have both the numbers and the specific skills. So we do interact a lot with the universities to actually understand where they are working and actually give hints of what we will need in the near future and midterm in order to bring out these competencies we need for our projects. But basically, we need logic, understanding of business. From then, we can bring these people to our company and train them in order to understand technology. If you have logic and also understanding of the business, you can build all. Okay, so support and people in these companies in order to make all of this making sense.
Yeah. If I can add just something, I'm an entrepreneur by nature, I would say. I've created like 4 or 5 different companies. So I created the first company when I went to college like 20 years ago. And I was like one of the few people having like a mobile phone. And I was still like sending contracts. I'm not very old, but I was still like sending contracts by fax, you know, and all those like old-fashioned things. The challenge is like things are going very, very, very fast today. People like the people that are not very into technology, they take longer to understand and to actually acknowledge and interact with technology in a much like flawless way. And but I think it's a very interesting place to be today. We are in First Peak like less than 2 years ago. We were like 15 people. Now we are more than 80. And when we started in the first year, we had just a few customers. Now we have hundreds of customers. It was almost impossible like 10, 15, 20 years ago to scale this fast, because we don't have to like plug new servers and put all of that infrastructure if you want to add more customers to the system in the next week or next few months, okay? Because technology is like much more scalable, and businesses can scale much faster and grow much faster because they can use technology to do that. Not only in terms of the product that can actually scale faster, but also can scale your team faster because collaboration and all the things you can use to help your team interact and work together, it's much better than it used to be. So, and of course, universities, and I've been like collaborating, for example, with Porto Business School in Porto to actually bring these new concepts on how to create and make modern companies grow, how to actually put like growth systems in place or business growth systems in place that are completely adapt to this new reality, where it can be like a global business, but actually you have like limited resources, and you don't have like you can't like be putting money all the time into a business, because it actually has to grow because of its users, its customers, and its capabilities or its power of solving real problems. But the universities, they of course, they also take some time to adapt. So when we look to, for example, to the US, which is basically like the benchmark all the time, and when we look to the startup ecosystems, and we see these at Founders, so pretty much like I would say like 80–90% of the founders of the startups in Portugal, they are part of our community. It's very challenging to prepare people to these new realities, because actually that's not what they are learning in schools, especially when it takes when it comes to the business side of the venture, you know, so marketing and sales and business growth and all that. And when we look to the benchmark, which is pretty much like these startup ecosystems in the US, universities, they take a very, very, very relevant part. Not only the business schools, because you can go to Stanford and actually learn what are the practices, not like from 10 years ago, but from today, but also in terms of technology with this case of MIT and all that, where this technology transfer and research works in a much like faster pace and much more connected to the real world.
Rui,
just one quick side note on that topic of technology education and the processes that companies go through. I remember Airbnb 6 years ago when I joined, and it was a pretty small team here in Europe. So I don't know if you guys know the story. Basically, Rocket was replicating Airbnb in Europe. So Airbnb was like, oh, guys, or we buy them in a few years, or we go against them and we build our own thing. So we decided to build our own thing. But at the time, I remember, like the way we analyzed data, it was basically an Excel spreadsheet with all the data in the world that was updated on a weekly basis. There was no Metabase, dashboards, or Power BI. No, it's a simple spreadsheet. And this was Airbnb from San Francisco 6 years ago. It's not 10 or 20. So the reality, and the reason I'm flagging this is because technology, yes, is a medium, and yes, it will have to escalate, but you should never forget that there needs to be a very important core idea there besides technology, or else the technology won't take you anywhere. So the concept that you have there needs to be pretty strong. And like what Rui did with InfluenceSpeak is a clear testament of that. Like there was a clear need for that. Technology was the medium to bring it to fruition. Airbnb the same, like the focus was people connecting. The technology was just a platform. So and this is very important when we kind of look at, and me as a mentor in Startup Visual, when looking at founders and people wanting to start their business, that's where you kind of see them by far where they're going to make or break. Is if there's a concept, or if there's a technology. Usually if there's not a real true concept that relies on or people or a process that needs to be fixed, that's the ones that struggle much more in growing and getting adoption from whatever audience they are targeting to.
Yeah, I was thank you, Ricardo. I was just building on top of what Rui just said, and I think that you kind of pretty much defined digital transformation in a really kind of a cool way, which is basically saying that digital transformation is about using technology to serve customers better. And I think that's pretty much it, while most people actually forgot about the customer and they just focus on the technology and everything else. So I think that, and this is kind of as a summary because we are pretty much on the top of the hour, it's just we need digital literacy, but we would also need a lot of creativity and a lot of also critical thinking, right? So if we have critical thinking, and if we actually teach these to our kids and to our sales force and our kind of a workforce, I think that things will go much easier going forward. So I would like to thank you all. Is there anything else that you would like to just to mention? I think that we could, I feel like we could be here talking for hours. I just scratch the surface of my own questions. I think I asked one and I had at least 8. So thank you very much for all your inputs and your presentations. It was a pleasure to moderate this session, and I hope our audience also feel this too. So thank you very much, and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.